Okay.
Yes. No. I'll just pass them. But I said they're going.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, no, it's...
I thought you would have. So you yes.
We're all settled.
It's appreciated.
I'd like to call this meeting to order the Government Operations Committee for August 2nd, 2021. County Clerk, roll please.
Bala?
I'm sorry, Nancy. Roll.
No.
You are, okay.
Bala?
Please.
Here.
Payleitner?
Here.
Bongard? Bancroft?
Here.
Lencioni? Petrella?
Here.
Wirball?
Here.
Besner?
Here.
Weber?
Here. Thank you. Tonight we have two administrative items, video gambling statistics and fuel tax receipts. Any questions or comments on those? Okay. Number 4, we do have one omnibus item. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Bancroft, second by Warbaugh. Roll call, please.
Bancroft?
Yes.
Lencioni?
Yes.
Petrella?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bala?
Yes.
Thank you.
Payleitner, yes.
Oh, pay that.
Oh, Payleitner?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 5, Police Department.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, for statutory reasons, recuse myself for items 5A and 5B.
Thank you. Please let the record show that. Thank you. Police Department, A, recommendation to approve a proposal for a D12 liquor license application for Mixology Salon Spa located at 116 West Main Street, St. Charles. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Sokaitis. So this item also appeared at the July 27th Liquor Control Commission meeting and advanced favorably. I do not see the applicant petitioner in the audience, Phoebe, but I can proceed if the committee's okay with that. Okay. So this is a new D12 classification that codifies salons and nail salons, hair salons, and things of that nature. Similar business models are in place in Wheaton and nearby Geneva. This was passed several months ago in anticipation of this license coming forward. Phoebe's material is in order, including her dram shop, Bassett, floor plan, and business plan. There are some limitations on the license itself that you'll notice in the language that I've codified within my memo. A couple examples are 1 drink per hour, and then no more than 3 drinks per customer. Once again, this is an accessory use to the salon, not a primary use. Massage services are also prohibited from offering alcohol. I can answer any questions that the committee might have.
Any questions or comments? Anybody?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Payleitner, seconded by
Wirball.
Warbaugh. Roll call, please.
Bancroft?
Yes.
Petrella?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bala?
Yes.
Payleitner?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. 5B, recommendation to approve a proposal for a new Class E1 temporary liquor license for the Random Acts Matter Food Truck and Music Festival fundraiser being held in Panama Park on Saturday, September 25th, 2021, from 11:30 a.m. to 5:30. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Sokaitis. So this too appeared at the July 27th Liquor Control Commission meeting, and it was proceeded to committee favorably. As Mr. Sokaitis mentioned, this is a September 25th event from 11:30 to 5:30. This year's event is going to take place at Potawatomi Park, where previous events have taken place at Mount St. Mary's. There's credentialing in place, perimeter fencing, and all their paperwork is in order. They are teaming up with some local breweries like Riverlands, Pollyanna, and then, of course, Vintage 53. There is a representative from Random Acts Matter, or myself can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this the first, is this the first time they're doing this, first event?
No, I think this is our 3rd or 4th year they have.
Okay.
The previous were at Mount St. Mary's Park.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I missed all that. Moved by and seconded by Warbaugh. Roll call, please.
Bancroft?
Yes.
Petrella?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bava?
Yes.
Paylighter?
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you. Now we're to item 5C, which Mr. Lencioni will participate. This is a recommendation to approve the closure of parking lot B and IDOT resolution for a closure of Main Street, Route 64, from 6th Street to 2nd Avenue, for 2 high school homecoming parades.
Thank you, Mr. Sulkaitis. So I want everybody to note, if we're taking attendance, that Lisa from East is here and Melinda is missing from North. Lisa never misses a meeting. I just saw her at a special events meeting. But East, their parade will take place on Friday, September 24th, and North on Friday, October 15th. Both go from 6th or 7th Street on the west, and the parades proceed west to east, and they end at 2nd Avenue. There's a resolution in place where we'll actually close the roadway with IDOT's approval, and either Lisa or myself can answer any questions you might have. There is an additional caveat as far as COVID, should anything change.
Any comments or concerns? Okay.
Weber will move it. Second.
Okay, motion by Weber and second by
Petrella.
Trilla. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, the Finance Department, 6B.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Enclosed in your packets tonight is a resolution of official intent regarding certain capital expenditures to be reimbursed from proceeds of an obligation to be issued by the city. And essentially, this is a housekeeping item that we go through every time we issue a bond, but it's a very important housekeeping item. As the committee is aware, each year as part of the budget process, we identify certain projects for which we anticipate having to issue bonds to finance the project costs. What the resolution of official intent does is it kind of serves as official notice to the IRS, to bondholders, and to everyone else that we intend to issue debt for these particular projects, but there may be a timing difference between some of the initial expenses for the projects and the issuance of the bonds. So what this resolution allows us to do is to start the clock for the look-back period for expenditures from which we can capture reimbursement for those projects. It is a very important tool that helps us maintain our tax-exempt status on the bonds that we issue. And additionally, it's also very important to know that the passage of the resolution of official intent does not obligate us to issue any bonds. All it does is state that we are able to reimburse ourselves for the expenditures related to those projects if indeed that bond issue goes forward. So it doesn't obligate us to issue any bonds, and it doesn't obligate us to issue a certain amount of bonds. It simply preserves our maximum flexibility with regard to those project costs. Staff does recommend approval. Several of the projects are outlined. The official bond documents will be forthcoming in the next several weeks as that winds its way through the process. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions comments from the committee? Can a motion, please?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Bancroft, seconded by Lencioni. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 7A, recommendation to approve a letter of engagement with Heitzelman Law LLC to provide representation and legal advice for the City of St. Charles in a police pension application matter.
Thank you. Good evening. The city code allows the city council can appoint legal counsel outside the city attorney for specific legal issues. We have been working with our labor council for a little while on this particular personnel matter, and the attorney that was assigned to that, the attorney we've been working for, has left CBS, Clark Baird Smith, and has started their own firm, Heitzelman. Because of the time we've invested in this with this particular attorney and the complexity of this case, taking a look at it, we think it's wise to keep that case with this attorney. So I did ask for a letter of engagement, and that has been reviewed by our city attorney, Attorney Peppers, and that's included in your packet also for your review. I've estimated about 150 hours still to invest into this particular case, and that may go beyond this fiscal year. And that information is included in your packet. So both Attorney Peppers and I are recommending that this case stay with Yvette Heinzelman, and we would need your appointment in order to get that accomplished. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Webb.
I have a question. What was the hourly rate at the old law firm?
It was the same.
Same rate? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll move to approve.
Second.
By Weber, second by Lencioni. We'll do a roll call on this.
Bancroft?
Yes.
Lencioni? Petrola?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Bessner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bala?
Yes.
Fayleitner, yes.
Haylighter? What's going on?
Motion passes, thank you. 7B, recommendation to approve proposal from GovHR to perform compensation study and analysis and establish a compensation review work group.
Right. Probably half of you remember that about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, we engaged in a compensation study and analysis. And in the conclusion of that study, council recommended that we do this once every 3 years, which came up last year, but we ended up putting that on hold because of COVID. And so we picked that back up again this year. And that's a good idea to do that once every few years, just to check in to see if our compensation philosophy and our structure is working. So that's what we did this year. We issued an RFP. We issued it to several different firms. We had 3 that responded. We interviewed all 3 and reviewed all 3 proposals. GovHR, which you are familiar with, they have done our recruitment work here. They provided the best value. They happen to be the low-cost proposal, but they also happen to be a very thorough proposal in getting what we want accomplished. I did contact their references. They all came back glowing for this specific work, not for the recruitment work. The references were related to this specific work. You can see in the executive summary a copy of their proposals as well as the RFP that we issued. What we're asking them to do is assess the effectiveness of the 75th percentile. For those of you that are new to the council, the City Council has established a compensation philosophy of paying above market at the 75th percentile of our comparable communities. We have about 18 of those. The next thing they would be doing is evaluating a draft compensation policy, analyzing our positions, our non-union positions for placement in the pay grades to ensure we have internal equity, and then also analyzing our positions to ensure that we are in compliance with any federal or state laws, especially when it talks about pay equity. There are proposals for $24,800. I budgeted $50,000, so we did pretty well there, and I am recommending approval of this group to do this work. Secondly, what we would need is to follow what we did before, is establish a work group. That work group previously was made of the city administrator, the finance director, and the HR director. I'm about the only one left here on the staff side of that. And then we also had an elected officials representation with the mayor and 2 other aldermen. So I'm hoping that we can also establish that work group to work with staff on this.
Any questions? Yes, Alderman Bancroft.
Who did the study before?
Sikich,
That's what I thought.
they did not respond this time.
I think this is going to be a good move.
I think it will be a better engagement.
I agree.
Any other comments, concerns, questions?
I just have a question. Do we have a high turnover rate here, or does this address that if we do or don't? Is it part of that?
Sure. Our turnover rate right now is about 8.5%.
Okay.
National average is about 20%, so we're doing very well. The main driver in recruitment when a person's looking for a job is compensation and benefits, and through our compensation philosophy, we're very competitive with other municipalities. So I think the turnover we do have is just a lot of retirements.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Have a motion, please.
I'll move it. Weber will move.
Second.
A move by Weber, second by Bancroft. Roll call, please.
Bancroft?
Yes.
Lencioni?
Yes.
Petrola?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Bessemer?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bala?
Yes.
Paylighter?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Could I just add, did we want to establish a work group at this time, or is that going to come later?
Was that?
Question, are you
I mean, we
looking for
can.
volunteers from city council?
Yeah, I don't know
Talked about it, Jen.
Okay,
Alderman Slokaitis and Alderman Bancroft.
okay. Just want to make sure we.
Oh,
So they can just put that, yeah.
oh, we will do that?
You and I volunteered.
What did I miss? I'm sorry. No. Okay.
It'll be
Well,
fun,
then,
I
there's-
promise.
We had a motion, a second, right? Yeah, roll call, please.
I think we did it.
We're good.
I don't think that there's
I
an
didn't know I
agenda.
volunteered for anything.
I'm sorry,
Now all
distracted you.
confused.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, that's right. Item C, recognition to approve ordinance amending chapter title, chapter 2-10, appoint of officers of the city, St. Charles Municipal Code to establish the position of Director of Economic Development.
This was sort of alluded to earlier tonight. We have a lot of staff turnover, and at the director level, we're going to be losing Community and Economic Development Director Rita Tungari by the end of this month. Through the city administrator recruitment process, it was clear that the council is looking for staff that is focused on economic development. Unfortunately, we also lost our economic development planner earlier this month. She resigned for an opportunity out of state, or for her husband out of state. And so we have a kind of a blank slate here. And if we're going to create a director of economic development position, this is the time to do it. So what you have in your packet is a proposed organizational chart for a community development director and department, and an economic development director and department, as well as accompanying job descriptions. I've also provided an estimate cost, and that includes everything, not just wages, but any benefits associated with those positions. Given that if we were to move forward with this recruitment and hire an economic development director this year, that wouldn't be throughout the whole fiscal year. So there would be some savings on that salary, bringing that person on board later on into the fiscal year. But I can answer any questions on this concept.
Questions?
I have a question. Was there any analysis done on what the cost benefit, because adding these two positions, you know, what is the value of the work that's being done? And do we have any kind of a delta on tax effect by having this change, you know, being proposed?
No, I don't have any of that.
No? Okay. Was there any kind of rationale like that on a cost benefit? Are we just, and I want to make sure that I understand, we're just adding heads, this isn't a reorganization?
Right, this would be in addition of the Director of Economic Development position. We have had that in previous years, as I understand, not while I was here.
Right.
So this would be going back to a model we've had previously. Now, in talking with GovHR, when they were doing the city administrator recruitment, they did say that they're seeing a lot of municipalities that had consolidated that position, like we have here during the recession because of costs, and now that the economy has basically changed and there's a lot of competition for getting development into the community, she's seeing a lot of communities do exactly this, breaking those positions back up.
Okay.
No, that's sorry, he had a tab first.
Looking at the flow chart of staff, you have one person for the economic development department and then one person under that director. Is there any intention or anticipation of growing that department, or would that be it for that department?
I would probably say that if we moved forward with the Director of Economic Development position, that person would bring forward any additional growth in the department based on what they needed.
And then my follow-up question is, how do we pay for that? Where would that money come from? I don't know if that's, Chris could address that, because we're asking for, we're looking at $90,000 for this budget, and then an additional $45,000 that's not budgeted for this year?
Yeah, correct. The $90,000 from this year's budget would come out of out of reserve, most likely. We're actually going to have, it looks like a pretty healthy surplus in our general fund for the year that just ended. We would be able to transfer some of that reserve money from, out of our reserve account and utilize it to fund this position for this interim time between now and the end of the fiscal year. At the end, for the next fiscal year, it would just be rolled in and be part of the normal operations and be funded by our normal general fund revenue stream.
So would we need to find additional revenue streams? How are we trending in that in order to pay for this? I just trying to understand how to pay for it if we're anticipating growing the department as well.
Yeah, and typically we do have growth within our revenue stream, and quite frankly, since COVID has ended, we have been seeing quite a positive trend, particularly in our sales tax revenue stream. Obviously, the Audi dealership work, the revenue collection a little earlier, is going to help in that regard as well as the anticipated expansion of the Zen Leaf facility out on the east.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Jen, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years maybe that I've been pushing for this. This is great. So I'm all on board. I too looked at the little flow chart. Is it necessary this has to be a director position?
Well, nothing's necessary. I'm bringing forward what I've heard and wanted to address that in terms of maybe the authority that's at the level that is being looked for to focus on economic development. But what the council's looking for, I mean, we can make changes.
I too, along with Alderman Wirball, had a little, about the financial commitment. Mm-hmm. And also, Rita had 12 people under her. This person's going to have 1. Yeah. So it seems like a very generous salary for somebody who just, out of the gate has an oversight of 1 person.
Yeah, the salary is associated with the director level position. That's
right. That's why I'm asking.
That we're
at.
Right.
So right.
If it's not that level, then the salary would be different.
Okay. Because I'm not sure a director warrants just 1 person. Maybe grow into it. I don't know. Right. But right. And in the packet, you had said that you had done some comparable. And I looked up, just the only 2 that I know of, Geneva and Batavia. Batavia just hired one, and their salary wasn't near this.
Right. That's not I don't think that's a director level position.
Yeah, it was semantics, I think. Yeah. One was, one wasn't.
Yeah.
So I just, my hesitation is just there. I mean, if we need to have, I appreciate that there to be a standalone and maybe just, answer, to our city administrator. Granted, we've had these before coming back, and there's a lot of pieces here too. Now, their job, and I appreciated the language because that's what we all said, somebody sells St. Charles. This is my next question. We have an organization, the Business Alliance. Their job is to sell St. Charles. So are they going to be is the new economic development person going to be taking some of the load from the Business Alliance? Is there going to be, some overstep, I'm just wondering, where the division of duties will be on that. I understand the BA is more of a marketing thing, but, I would like to see, I think also in the packet, I saw that the plan was to have this new economic development director be in charge of connecting with businesses on the city's behalf and managing grants or whatever that we have. And I'm seeing that that's also a big role that the Business Alliance plays.
Yeah, I think that there's some evolution there to see how that would grow. And if it's not a director position, if it is something that is less than that, then we can run some scenarios and see where that position, like what department would that position fall under? Is it a more of a manager position that's out of administration? We can look at those things. I didn't go into depth on because I don't really have the knowledge on what the Business Alliance does and where that would start and stop versus this position, but I would imagine the incumbent would have some thoughts on that.
Okay, because I think as we're defining it, I would like to have all those kind of I's dotted and T's crossed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Alderman Baker.
So my question is more, it's sort of tangential to this being a director level position. So the question to me is sort of twofold. It's, is there a reason that this person is targeted to be a direct report of the city administrator? Is that the point of having it be a director level position? There's a question mark there. And then the second thing is if in the universe of interviews that you're going to have as part of the search, you find good people, is it possible to adjust based on experience right there and then? So if somebody looks good and looks promising but isn't a director level person necessarily because of experience, because of whatever, do you have the ability to pivot and say, well, we're going to bring you in, with a different title, and if you did, who would that person report?
Jen, may I step in? Anyone? Is that okay, Alderman Slakaitis? Okay. The intent when we came up with this plan is that if it is a director position, yes, then it does report to the city administrator. And what I heard from council throughout the interview process, and certainly what I've heard from developers and talking with many of you, is that this is important to us. We know that there's development opportunities. Just as it's equally important as I know we need someone in community planning, what my intent was is to establish this as an important position. Economic development is important to this city, and I think it's worth investing in. Economic development and marketing, in my opinion, are two separate things. We don't have enough marketing support for the city. I can attest to that from looking at other municipalities, and many times other municipalities even have more director level staff, like a director of economic development and doing some research, director of community planning, and then also even have assistant city administrator. What we're suggesting is that we're making now what we've all said important. Economic development is important. Not that it was never important before, but zoning and economic development are two different skill sets. So what we're saying is, to Alderman Werball's question, the answer is I don't know. We don't know if we're going to need more staff. That's not how we know that it costs money to hire staff. So we're suggesting let's take the small step to let the community and our staff know that this is an important role in building. We have many development opportunities coming up, and again, what we heard this evening from Audie is we want to continue to develop those relationships and have a strong suit when it comes to economic development. That's my opinion. I don't know if Heather has anything else to add, but the three of us have been working on what that might look like, and this is the model we're proposing today.
Yes. The follow-up from the question that I asked earlier, because in just formulating through, one of the things, this is one of the few positions that we have, which is supported by revenue. If we get the right person into this position with the right skill set and background, I was just looking for if we had any information on that, because your time, almost thinking like HR, your time to fill it, it will, as we do a better job, because we have the right skill set, to get people quicker into some of our underutilized properties, the tax revenue that comes with all of that is incredibly significant. And I was just looking to see, as we do anything, if we had any of that justification other than just saying, because it makes perfect sense to me, but I would love to see a business case for something like this, because, with the amount of competition that there are for great businesses, what's the difference to justify, heck, I could imagine a scenario where you could afford even more salary depending on what the market says, to get the right person who brings people into St. Charles more quickly and then continues to generate the tax revenue. But I was just wondering, and I would love to see in the future, is if we have something like that, more of a business case that goes along with it, because it's a position like this is an investment, as much as anything else. So it would just be something to consider. But I can anecdotally imagine that this is a great position, and I'd support it. But I think I would love to see something in the future where there are cities that have this position established, and if there was any kind of a delta or a business case to be made. So that was just my thought when I was asking. But in taking a look at it, it makes sense. But I definitely have those questions because I'd love to see what other people are doing and what the market looks like more, and what the change in tax revenue by having somebody who's incredibly effective in a position.
Heather's going to answer.
Rather than it just kind of seems right, but it probably seems right too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't have experience in doing that, so I don't know how we would estimate how much revenue a person like this could bring in. Every community, you know, maybe they have a director level, or maybe they have a manager level, or some have completely separate nonprofits that work on economic development altogether. So communities are very varied in how they do it, and it's a hard skill set to recruit for, so that's probably why they're very varied. So doing that type of analysis would be something I probably would need outside assistance in doing.
And I'm going to jump in there too, just because it is very difficult to actually tie productivity from an economic development director to what they've actually done. One, it takes time to build those relationships and to actually follow through. I mean, we were talking today at Audi, the 2006, I think I heard that project was working on, so it's a little difficult to quantify their actual productivity, but what you want is somebody in here who is going to build those relationships and be able to engage those developers, provide the information they need, and really get them in the door. So in my experience, at least, it's been a very good complement to any chamber-type businesses, any initiatives, anything like that they can work together, whereas those outside organizations can focus on the marketing, really targeted towards the residents, and that director-level position, and assuming it is a director-level position, is going to have a higher-level skill set and be a little bit more experienced in that field, able to really focus on that effort bringing those businesses into the city and retaining the existing businesses.
I agree, and see, I just want to make sure that we don't sidetrack and we understand this well enough that we don't, you know, mistakenly, you know, downgrade the skill set and not give you what you need to accomplish those goals, because the goals aren't as clearly spelled out, is all.
And I think certainly downgrading that skill set to whether it's a manager or some other smaller level below a director level, that's going to translate in the skill set and qualifications of that candidate. So it's about the investment in the city and what you want to see as a result of that position.
Okay. Jen, are we only here because it is a director position? If it was a manager position, wouldn't it just be under Heather's purview?
Correct.
The only reason why we're here is because it's a director.
Correct.
Yeah.
It requires a change in the ordinance.
Right.
The city code by ordinance, sorry.
Yeah, I like the idea of two separate departments, but I would like to take it slow and maybe try with a management position and see what kind of results we get, and we can always bring that up a notch if we have to.
So I have a bunch of concerns about where we're shooting for. So I understand the director level position. And the director level position reports to the city administrator and, you know, has that level of autonomy. And that's the structure that we're talking about in the materials. And that makes a lot of sense to me. To the extent that we change structures to something that's a lesser level of director, if it's a manager, then the question is, who does that manager report to? Because we don't have a structure that allows for the manager to report to the city administrator necessarily. I'm just throwing that out there. So to me, really, this is all about trying to set up that separate division. You know, I think the salary is legitimate, but it's healthy. I mean, it's a healthy budget for us. I mean, the question that I have is, is there a reason to not shoot for right now? And this is a question to the council, not to anybody else. Is there a reason to not shoot for a director level position and say, okay, we understand that this is going to be a little bit of an expense. Let's be choosy and let's see what we find out there, and see what happens. I mean, to me, I think the problem where I was going with my line of questions, if you start adjusting down or you're seeing people, it doesn't really work then within our structure, because you're trying to separate the two functions. So you don't want to have a report to community and economic development. You're a community. What would it be? Community development?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to report through that. You want to report directly to the city administrator. And the only way I see doing that is having it be a director level report. And so.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, just to make one more point real quick too, I understand that I'm coming in sort of at the end of this conversation, so I apologize if I'm repeating anything or missing anything that anybody said, but retail is a very difficult market right now, and if there is a place to invest money from the city standpoint, it is in this position. We need to be as competitive as possible to draw in a lot of this retail market that's sort of going by the wayside generally.
Alderman Besant?
No,
Well,
it's,
I was just going to add, if I'm not mistaken, we did have a position that was more of an assistant, the gentleman that left the city of St. Charles, so I don't know, I don't want to say anything ill will about whether that succeeded or not, but I think as a group, we were kind of trying to get away from that too, from what I remember. But
Yeah, our recent history was we did have somebody that was a division manager, and he moved on to bigger and better things. We did execute a recruitment for that replacement and didn't really get the candidates that we were looking for. We changed it to the planner position, which is even a further downgrade, and we got a very good analyst person that did good work, but it was an entry-level position, and it's not surprising that after a couple of years, they're moving on to their next step.
But he was doing some economic development.
Yeah, we had an economic development division manager.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay, thank you.
Matt.
did he answer to Rita then? Who did he answer
Yeah.
to? Not to the CA, but
Right,
he
to
answered
Rita.
to the...
Mhm.
I just have trouble with a director who only has one person underneath them. I understand it's a growing field, but it just seems, when you have a director who has 20-some underneath them, or a director has 12 underneath them, and then at the same salary pace, we have one who has one person underneath them.
Right.
So that's, I'm just thinking that, and I have no problem if the right person's out there and they want the job. I thought, from what I see, I think Geneva and Batavia did a pretty good job, and we all said we're a desirable place. We have 8% turnover. I would think people want to come here. And if it's out there that this position is something they can grow into as well, I don't see that as a bad thing.
Alderman Fielman.
In talking through this, the one thing that I see that would be the greatest risk would be to underhire this, and especially where we're at as a city right now. We need to invest in our growth. I mean, we're growing, we're creating spaces, and we have to make sure that we acquire a high enough skill set, for the job that we're trying to do. I would think the greatest risk would be to, and I see payment and director level based on the level of professional and the level of talent and the level of expertise and seniority that person has, more than how many people report to him. I think it sounds like a great job, and I think that we need it very much. I just was seeking to understand, because I think the greatest risk in that this is going to be an income-producing position and helping grow and build, and bring people in for us. I would be more scared in under-hiring this than over-hiring it. I don't think that we can find enough talent.
Alderman Fella.
So I'm hearing what Alderman Payleitner is saying, one person reporting to a director. Is it possible at this point, because if we pass this, it becomes an ordinance, it's part of the code, could we create a job family, not necessarily, fill those, under director positions now, but because then it just leaves the opportunity to grow that department in the future? Was there value in doing like an assistant and just like building it out now, but not necessarily hiring those folks now, just to indicate that, it'll grow if we're doing a good job, as you say, Paul, with, as this person provides more revenue, and we're going to need to expand it anyway. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. I understand what you're saying,
that's
but.
The plan. I think that's the plan, listening to the mayor and to the...
But I mean, can we codify it now, or do we just wait till success is gained, which I do think it will be gained.
It won't be on us. It won't be on us,
Right. As Alderman Payleitner is saying, is the reason this particular position is before you is because it's a city council appointment. If there were additional jobs that were created based on this person saying, hey, I need an administrative assistant, or I need an analyst, or something like that, we would move forward and figure out how to do that. We don't have to create all of that in the city code.
Okay, then if the possibility exists, then there's no problem with just one person reporting to them now. If the future is unwritten and we're hopeful of success, so let's just move forward then. Anyway, that's my thoughts. So.
I'd like to make a motion to approve
Approve what?
the recommendation to approve an ordinance amending chapter 2.10.
Second.
Okay, motion by Weber, second by Besner. Any more discussion?
Yeah, Todd, did you have
Yeah,
something?
so the only other thing that I want to add, and it's really to the report question is, you know, to me, what becomes crucial are three things. The first is that this position, you know, indicates a desire on the part of this council to set up a division that's going to focus on this, right? On a department that's going to focus on it, that's separate and apart and freestanding. The second thing is that the leader of this department is so important. They are a direct report of our city administrator, which is really kind of the second, you know, wave of authority or the second level of authority in our city government, right? I mean, this person, you know, has real standing and participates in department director meetings and really is a leader of it. And then really the third thing is on the reporting side of it, I understand what Alderman Paylander is saying in terms of, you know, direct reports and just a number, but by the same token, you know, maybe this whole role then becomes re-envisioned and things like the chamber and things like, you know, I think you talked about the alliance. All of that becomes sort of a direct responsibility of this person and take some of that heavy lift off of the city administrator too. I mean, I think that's
sure,
got to be.
Sure.
But I mean, at all functions. So maybe maybe we have elected to outsource it so far to the alliance, but maybe this is the start of bringing back some of those resources here, and maybe we should view that arrangement as somewhat of almost like a reporting arrangement for that too. Because I think it's going to be an important thing.
Right, and I don't want to be misinterpreted at all, but I think this is a fabulous move. And I wasn't also nitpicking on the money because they only have one person underneath them. I just was thinking as the people who spend the people's money, you know, is it a possibility at this $205,000 that we can grow into that spot? Why do we have to have the, you know, upper end of a director's salary, I guess? And then once they start having more people, they build a department and they have more people underneath them, by golly, then write them that check. You know, I worry about doing it right out of the gate. You know, and even Jen, you said, it's a hard position to search for. So I hate to see us settle.
No, I think that's a good point. So the question then is, when you're conducting the search, you're going to get a broad range of, you know, candidates. They're all going to know what a range of salary is based on their experience. So, I mean, presumably the higher range would go to someone who has more relevant, immediate experience and a track record, and the lower range would be maybe more someone who's picking up, you know, going to the next level of their career, but they're not quite, you know, on the fully established scale.
Yeah, our offers are based on what experience they're bringing to the table. And in the projection that I gave you, this is using what we call our hiring justification form. So anytime there's a vacancy, we run the position through this form. So it is kind of worst case scenario. You know, you're talking about higher up in the range. You're talking about they're getting all the benefits. It's family, most expensive benefit coverage and everything. So this is worst case scenario in terms of cost. Depending on their qualifications, depending on what benefits that they participate in, all those things make a difference.
Right. Yeah, I get that's the 205 number. I guess I was just, you know, talking about 154 number.
So then my last question is how does this process work? Right? So we put motion second, we're going to approve it. So now then there's going to be a search. Is this like every other director? So then, you know, there'll be some sort of process, and then eventually some candidates will be put forth to the council?
Right. I would mirror this director search like you have had experience with the HR, the IS, the chief, all of those searches, which means that because this person is appointed by this body, they would have an opportunity. They'd be coming before this group to be interviewed.
We don't, though, right? We don't appoint it.
If it's a director position, yes.
No, I think it's just, I
Are
thought
we,
that it isn't.
are we interviewing them?
Well,
Are we interviewing?
The way
Are
a
we-
director search is done is I would make a recommendation to hire a recruitment firm to do that. We're doing two other director positions. They would do the initial screening, mirrors exactly the process that we just went through with the city administrator. They would do the initial screening. They would come before and be interviewed by Heather, and she probably will establish some sort of team to help interview it. I'd be part of those interviews. When I went through it, there was an employee level of interviews, and then the top two candidates traditionally come before the city council.
Yeah, I think that's what we did.
Very much like what we just did.
I think that's what we did with the police chief and with the,
Did that
IT.
IT.
And me.
So we do have visibility. My point to the council is we have visibility into the candidates that are there as well as what their experience is. And we'll have, and I think because we have visibility, we'll have the opportunity to figure out where on the scale they fit.
Yeah, maybe. You know, really, bottom line, it's Heather and Laura's choice, really. That's clear in our, you know, right here. You know, we get to give our 2 cents, but really, it's recommended by the city administrator and appointed by the mayor. So that's why I want to be careful what we decide here. This is our last chance, really, to say, to not the person, but the position, to make sure we know what we want to have in that person, what they're doing. And sure, we want the top notch, but we have to be realistic as well.
I just want to point out, it's with advice and consent of the city council.
Okay, any other questions?
So we wouldn't have the ability to interview them, or
No,
we would?
Yeah.
We would,
Yeah.
okay.
But,
Mine's more of a comment. I guess what I was trying to say earlier is, you know, I'm pushing 14 years here. I've never seen us really get behind this position in a truly meaningful way, as this process might bring us to now. So unless I'm mistaken, Rita, you've been here through it. We had a gentleman that came from Geneva, came back last.
Batavia, yeah.
We interviewed him.
Yeah,
We had an
yeah,
interview,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it didn't work out. But the point is, I don't know. I feel if we're going to go at this full force, we should go at it full force.
Okay, so if I may, Mr. Chairman, sorry. I hear you, and Ed, perhaps that's right, and maybe that's kind of what Todd was saying too. We need to develop a department, and that's what we're doing here. We're developing a department, right? Jen, is that
Yes.
pretty much it? Yeah. I guess I was looking at a person, but really no, we're developing a department by approving a director. Right.
Yeah, but I don't think it's, I think.
Which is good, which is
And I
fine.
think questioning a $200,000 expenditure is the kind of discussion we ought to have.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not affronted by this at all. I think
Yeah.
it's the right.
any other questions? There's a motion and a second on the table to approve the ordinance as written. No more questions? Roll call, please.
Bancroft?
Yes.
Lencioni?
Yes.
Petrola?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Fava?
Yes.
Payleitner?
Yes. And can I just, Mr. Chairman, just...
Motion passes, thank you.
Yeah, just in conclusion, thank you, Jen. Great, you know, and also, thank you, Heather. I mean, that your experience and insight were helpful, and I'm also glad that you were here for the conversation, so you know, that you said you came in late. Well, now you've heard that this is...
Now you're early.
Yes, yes. We're the vision casters. The baton has been passed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion did pass. Okay, now, any additional items from staff, audience, or council? Okay, then, we do have an executive session tonight. I need motion to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
So moved.
Moved by Bancroft, seconded by Lencioni. Roll call, please.
I'll do that one. Bancroft?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Lencioni?
Yes.
Petrola?
Yes.
Wirball?
Yes.
Besner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Fala?
Yes.
Payleitner?
Yes.
You wanted me to do